So we're a few days into the transfer window now. Newcastle United still only have Lloyd Kelly through the door, but they are hopeful of bringing at least 2 or 3 more senior signings in. So we'll have to wait and see how that unfolds. What is pretty much being talked about on the circuit is the fact that there's this unofficial transfer deadline sort of creeping in, which is on June the 30th, which is the deadline for the profit and sustainability rules health check for all the Premier League clubs. And it's anticipated that we will see a lot of clubs do business before June the 30th, or perhaps even on June the 30th. We'll have to wait and see. But obviously Newcastle have got a number of players who they are potentially looking at offloading, just to try and make sure that they're in a good position in terms of bringing them in. Darren Eales has already spoke on the record about how important it is to sometimes sell a player in order to give the club some headroom to bring in new signings. So the next couple of weeks is going to be very interesting for Newcastle. We've seen a lot of players linked. Some of the bigger names who've been linked with move away have been Wilson Dubravka, Callum Wilson, Matt Targett. So it's going to be interesting to see if Newcastle do offload one of those players in the next few weeks. And remember as well, there's also talk of potentially academy products being sold from Newcastle. So someone who's come through the ranks could potentially be sold, and then you are looking at the club picking up 100% profit for that player. That's what the rulebook does for clubs these days. So Newcastle know that there is going to be business in and out in the next few weeks. It's going to be really interesting to see how Eddie Howe deals with it. He's already spoke on the record saying that there's not going to be a major overhaul at Newcastle this summer. Well, that kind of remains to be seen, because if you look at bringing 3 signings in, it means that Newcastle are going to have to do a bit of reshuffling. So how much of a major overhaul, we'll have to wait and see. The goalkeeping situation, it's a really interesting one, because we know Wilson Dubravka doesn't appear happy. If you read his quotes, obviously they happened at the Euros. He was put up to speak and he was asked about his future. Newcastle linked with James Trafford from Burnley, and if James Trafford does come in, then it feels inevitable that Dubravka will go, because he would suddenly become third choice goalkeeper for Newcastle United, and that would be probably not where he wants to be. He's 35 years old. He wants to be number 1. He was number 1 for most of last season because of Nick Pope's injury. So, it will be interesting to see where he ends up. Celtic has been linked, but, from what we're told, there is no firm bid. And also, Dubravka is at the Euros, so hardly in a position to negotiate a transfer. Yes, this can happen mid-tournament. We've seen it before. We've seen it with Sandro Tonali, of all people, last summer at the under-21 Euros. So it can happen mid-tournament. It's not common, but at the end of the day, Dubravka will need a move. And again, going back to that June 30th PSR rules health check deadline, then he would look like one of the favourites to leave Newcastle. But it's an interesting one. What is apparent is Newcastle are looking at goalkeepers. We reported on Saturday that John Ruddy was a player that's been offered to Newcastle, a former England international, played for Birmingham last season. Looks like he's looking for a new club after their relegation, so that will be a key position for Newcastle. Loris Karius has gone. It might not seem like a huge marquee move for anybody, but bringing in a veteran goalkeeper to bolster those ranks can be, in the middle of winter when you've got goalkeeping issues or injuries, that is an important position. And obviously you're going to see cup rotation as well, so Nick Pope will need a rest at some point, can't play in every game, and Newcastle are essentially a goalkeeper short in terms of their department because of Loris Karius' exit earlier this summer. So that's going to be one to watch. I think realistically Newcastle are looking for layers of backup throughout the squad. There's been players like Paul Dummett and Matt Ritchie have left. That bench will look very youthful without those two players in the coming season. So Eddie Howe will be well aware of it. They're going to have less games to play because of no Europe, so that's going to be it's going to be a big help, really, because it means Newcastle are going to have a full week to prepare. 4 games could lead to a much improved performance in the Premier League compared to last season, where Newcastle kind of fluctuated from well, they were at the top at the beginning of the season and then slumped all the way down to 10th, end up finishing 7th. Inconsistent, something Eddie Howe will be desperate to improve. He will probably can't wait to start pre-season training, which gets underway in just a couple of weeks already. The summer break is almost over for the players, and they'll be getting back to work soon. So Newcastle gradually moving on with transfers, as I say, that June 30th date to keep an eye on, and hopefully Newcastle will soon have another breakthrough in the transfer window.